Hi, welcome to Daily Devotions. I'm Bobbie, and this is my grandson. He's 11 months old, and he's going to help me explain Proverbs 1:7 today, which is our reflection verse for today. In a week on Father's Day, June 21st, we're going to begin an adult Sunday school, a six-week session, a six-week study on the book of Proverbs, because it's all about our Father's wisdom. So great day to start. 10:30 Sunday morning Zoom platform. All the information will be on our church website, and you could join if you'd like for one or two or three or all of the sessions, whatever you would like to do, and I invite you to do that. So today we're going to reflect on the key verse, which is 1:7, which reads, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs, according to Proverbs 1:1 and 10:1, was written by King Solomon. He's that king that when God asked, "What is it that I can give you?" Solomon answered, wisdom. He requested wisdom. And according to 1:7, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So reading through Proverbs is reading through what God the Father has to say about all kinds of areas. In fact, Proverbs is a little like walking through the biblical version of the self-help aisle in a bookstore. There's advice on parenting, friendship, finance, work, decluttering, finding rest, all kinds of topics in there. But Proverbs isn't about finding our inner Solomon. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Lean not on your own understanding." Wisdom found in Proverbs is about seeking God's wisdom, discerning God's will for our lives. It's learning to understand what God would have us do, how to live a godly life according to God's wisdom. That's how we would find a hope-filled, joy-filled, meaningful life. So I looked up wisdom in the dictionary, and there are 36 synonyms, and there are words I've never used, like perspicuity and sapience, and then of course there's common sense, smarts, shrewdness, insightfulness, discerning, 36 words that have to do with wisdom, and two opposites. The one used throughout Proverbs is folly. But 1:7, coming back to that, says wisdom is the fear of the Lord. I would suggest, well, let me say this. When we try to understand that phrase, fear of the Lord, we often will substitute the words awe or wonder or maybe respect. And those are really good words. But I would suggest that Proverbs and the whole Bible would say fear of the Lord encompasses much more than that. Certainly, it is appropriate to be fearful of God's wrath. We don't want God's anger in our lives. That is true. But the phrase fear of the Lord is never intended to motivate us through fear to obey God. That is not what it's about at all. In fact, it's about something very different. And so looking at a few ways that Proverbs describes fear of the Lord, we have verse 8:13, which tells us that to fear the Lord is to hate evil, to hate pride and arrogance, to hate a perverted mouth. 9:10 equates fear of the Lord with knowledge. 13:13 teaches us that the opposite of fear of the Lord is to despise the Lord. 14:26 and 27 speaks of confidence in the Lord, in God as a refuge and as a fountain of life. 2:1-5 teaches us that fear of the Lord is to seek God's wisdom like silver or gold, to understand his care and loving kindness, his justice and mercy, to understand God's wisdom as our source of deliverance. These are not words we associate with fear. In fact, there's something very different from that, and that's where my little grandson comes in. He's 11 months old, and he has reached a phase in his life now where he does not want Mama to leave the room. That just scares him. He's very familiar with his grandparents, and he's accustomed to a babysitter, but if Mama leaves the room, that boy becomes frightened. If she goes outside to the car to go get something, he runs up to that door, that screen door, and he'll press his nose and his hands up against the door, and you cannot drag him away until he sees his Mama again. Or if she goes behind a closed door, like a bathroom, he will stand outside that door and cry inconsolably until she comes out. A couple weeks ago, he stood outside the wrong closed door, and it was really kind of cute. That, to me, is a great illustration of what fear of the Lord really means at least to me. And that is not a fear of God's presence, but a fear of God's absence. If I were to substitute a word for fear, I might substitute longing. Fear of the Lord is to long for his presence in every moment, to fear being without his presence. It's about wanting to walk with him and talk with him in every moment of our lives and not wanting to do it alone. It's about wanting to know intimately what God thinks about what's going on in our lives and what God would have us do in any situation. Being in God's presence is a comforting thing. Far from fear, it makes us feel safe and secure. Fear of the Lord, I would suggest, is a good feeling. It is absence of the Lord's presence that I'm afraid of. Next week, I invite you to join us as we explore how to understand the Proverbs, how to apply them, and what Proverbs has to say about godly living in many areas of our life. Until then, God bless you.